Mr Speaker, I don't know about unclogging arteries. I'm sure we all have to unclog our ears after Mr Guy's contribution there. And he talked about the importance of connecting in with New Zealanders. And certainly on this side of the House, we're connecting with New Zealanders every day concerned about the increase in the cost of living. We're connecting with New Zealanders every day who are seeing their power prices rise, their rents and their rates going up. We're connecting with New Zealanders who are struggling with increased ACC charges. We're connecting with New Zealanders who know that this budget will not deliver to them a better life. This budget will not deliver to them a fairer New Zealand. This budget is a tax swindle. This budget is taking away from the many to give to the few. And Mr Speaker, it's quite clear that the National Party is prepared to borrow for tax cuts. Well, that's fine. But if we're going to be borrowing money, should we not be borrowing it to invest in our future? And what could be more important to our future than early childhood education, Mr Speaker? But this... Well, Mr Quinn, I'll make this point everywhere in New Zealand. If the costs of early childhood education are going up and Mr Quinn doesn't think that's important, because I challenge Mr Quinn to go to any early childhood centre in New Zealand and face up to the fact that the priority for his government is tax cuts for the wealthy instead of quality early childhood education. Mr Speaker, that is the choice this national government has made. They have prioritised tax cuts for the wealthy over quality, accessible early childhood education. And every member across there needs to go to early childhood centres around the country and face up to parents, face up to the families who are now going to be faced with $50 a week more in their bills. $50 a week on top of the GST. If you're a low-income person in Wellington, Mr Speaker, you go out and you find yourself trying to take a bus into town. 50-cent increase in the cost there. GST on everything. Power bills. I get my power bill the other day. A letter from my power company arrives in the letterbox that says, your power bill will be going up. Well, I've been lucky enough to get a tax cut. What about the people who haven't been? That letter tells everyone in Wellington the reason for that. It's the government. It is the government. It actually says it is the government that is the cause of that. The government is the cause of the increase in the cost of living because they have produced an unfair budget. Mr Speaker, I can't finish my contribution at all today without referring to the words of Mr Finlayson earlier on about the arts community. Mr Finlayson's clearly been looking in the mirror rather a lot to get his feedback when it comes to the arts community, because every person I meet in the arts community knows that in the 1990s it was the national government that undid all of the work in the arts, that we needed a cultural recovery package. And every single person in the arts community knows what Helen Clark did for arts in New Zealand. And if I can paraphrase Lloyd Benson in a vice presidential debate, Mr Finlayson, I know Helen Clark and you're no Helen Clark. Mr Speaker, the Labour Party believes in a balanced economy. We believe in the importance of investing in jobs, of investing in sustainable jobs, high-tech jobs. We believe in making sure that there's a future for all New Zealanders. We know that in this country we will only succeed in keeping New Zealanders in this country if we invest in jobs. This is not about tax cuts, Mr Speaker. If we want people to stay in New Zealand and not go to Australia, it's about improving wages. It's about making sure we invest in skills and in training and in developing our economy so that it's sustainable for the future. That is how we will be able to deliver good, proper social programs. It will not come from a short-termist approach that's driven by tax cuts for the few and price rises for the many, because that is what we are seeing in this country, Mr Speaker. We are seeing time and time again from the National Party an erosion of democracy, a taking away of people's rights in Auckland and in Canterbury. At the same time, they're not focused on the issues that matter for New Zealand. They're focused on personal attacks from Mr Finlayson on that side of the House. And Mr Finlayson, that's not how to connect with New Zealanders. How to connect with New Zealanders is to realise that that member's government is putting up the cost of living for every single hard-working family in New Zealand. Mr Finlayson might not care about power going up by a few dollars. Mr Finlayson might not care about early childhood education cuts, but he needs to know that real New Zealanders do care. Real New Zealanders know that his government is making sure their life is getting harder, and we will challenge them every day in this House on that.
Nikki Kay.